1. And how do you know that the human race is worth saving? An argumentative young student once asked his professor. Said the professor, "I have read Anne Frank's diary." 2. How this diary of a teenage girl came to be written and saved is a story as dramatic as the diary itself. No one foresaw the tremendous impact that the small book would have, not even her father, who had it published after Anne's death in a Nazi concentration camp. 3. The Diary of Anne Frank has now been published in 19 languages including German, and has sold nearly 2 million copies. Made into a play by Francis Goodrich and Albert Hackett, it won the Pulitzer Prize for Drama, and, in the 1956 to 1957 season alone, played in 20 different countries to 2 million people. In London it ran for nearly 6 months at the Phoenix Theatre. 20th Century Fox turned it into a film. 4. To understand this amazing response, it is necessary first to understand the girl who was Anne Frank. 5. When Hitler came to power, Otto Frank was a banker, living in Germany. He had married in 1925. In 1926 his first daughter, Margot, was born, and 3 years later his second, Anneliese Marie. She was usually called Anne, sometimes, Tender One. 6. In the autumn of 1933, when Hitler was issuing one anti-Jewish decree after another, Otto Frank decided to emigrate to the hospitable Netherlands. He started a small firm in Amsterdam. Shortly before the outbreak of war he took in a partner, Mr. Van Daan, a fellow refugee. Mostly they traded in spices. Business was often slow. Once Otto Frank was forced to ask his small staff to accept a temporary cut in their modest wages. No one left. They all liked his warm personality. They admired his courage and the evident care he took to give his 2 girls a good education. 7. As a pupil Anne was not particularly brilliant. Business was often slow. Most people believed with her parents that Margot, her elder sister, was more promising. Anne was chiefly remarkable for the early interest she took in other people. She was emotional and strong-willed, a real problem child, her father once told me, a great talker and fond of nice clothes. Life in town, where she was usually surrounded by a chattering crowd of girlfriends, suited her exactly. This was a lucky fact because the Frank family could only rarely afford a holiday. Business was often slow, nor did they own a car. 8. When the Nazis invaded the Netherlands in May 1940, the Franks were trapped. Earlier than most Jews in Amsterdam, Otto Frank realized that the time might come when he and his family would have to go into hiding. He decided to hide in his own business office, which faced one of Amsterdam's tree-lined canals. A few derelict rooms on the upper floors, called the Annex, were secretly prepared to house both the Frank and the Van Daan families. 9. Early in July 1942, Margot Frank was called up for deportation, but she did not go. Straightway the Franks moved into their hiding place, and the Van Daans followed shortly afterwards. 4 months later they took into their camp lodgings another Jew, a dentist. 10. Songbird in hiding. They were 8 hunted people. Any sound, any light might betray their presence. A tenuous link with the outside was provided by the radio and by 4 courageous members of Otto Frank's staff, 2 of them typists, who in secret brought food, magazines, books,